and welcome back to the Content Bite, our second episode of the year. If you're new to the podcast, our aim is to help writers of all kinds create a thriving business and a career they love. I'm Rachel Smith, a journalist, copywriter and content producer and the founder of Rachel's List. And I'm here with my co-host Lynn Testoni. Hello Lynn, how are you?
I'm good, Rachel. Hi. As Rachel said, my name is Lynn Testoni and I'm also a content creator, writer and journalist. And I'm so excited about our guest today, Sophie Hansen, who's going to talk all about creating a community with newsletters. Now, Rachel, I know you're a big fan of Sophie in particular because of her lovely newsletter, which is 5 Things to Be Cheerful About this Monday, which is a bundle of warmth and joy that arrives in our mailboxes on Mondays. So Sophie and I worked together years ago before she moved to the country, and it's a privilege to have her on the pod today to talk about all the things she's been doing in the years since. So Sophie Hansen was born and raised in Sydney, but she now lives with her family, husband Tim, daughter Alice and son Tom on their deer farm just outside Orange in country New South Wales. She trained in print journalism and has over 20 years experience as a features writer and content creator. She's currently writing her 4th book, oh my goodness, and her 3rd book, In Good Company, is to be published by Murdoch Books in April 2021, this year. And her 2nd cookbook, which is lovely, I don't know if you have it, Rachel, it's called A Basket by the Door, and it's in its 4th reprint, and it's widely distributed. As well as working in magazines, she spent 3 years working with Slow Food in Northern Italy in her 20s. For the past 10 years, has been sharing recipes and social media tips on her 2 blogs, Local is Lovely and My Open Kitchen. She also teaches social media and content marketing to producers and small businesses across Australia. And in 2016, she was awarded the Australian Rural Woman of the Year in recognition of her commitment to rural communities. So thank you, Sophie. Welcome to the Content Bite.
Thanks,
it's great
Lynn.
to have
Rachel.
you on the podcast. Hi.
Oh, it's great to be here. I'm a new fan of the podcast. I only just discovered it a couple of months ago, but yeah, it's great to be here.
Oh,
Fantastic. Look, as Lynn mentioned, I am such a huge fan of your newsletter. I subscribe to so many newsletters every week, but I would say there's only a few that I really look forward to and open, and yours is one of them. I mean, it's so true though. There's always something I want to cook, and I think, oh, what's she cooking this week? And you always find little great things to read, and new podcasts or podcasts I haven't heard of, and it's just so lovely. And I know I'm rambling, but I am a big fan. I mean, I really want to know how you came up with the idea to do the 5, cheerful things, that sort of format.
Well, thank you so much for your lovely words. So I've been blogging, as Lynn said, for, it's over 10 years now at Local is Lovely. And over there, I used to do something called the Friday list. I don't know if you guys ever remember that, but it was every Friday. It was a roundup of good things to cook, do, listen to, watch, etc. And I really loved doing that, but it sort of fell by the wayside a bit when I got a bit busy with other projects. And then probably it's been 2 years since I've been doing the newsletter. One Monday morning, I was like, I was feeling a bit glum. It was cold. It was wintry. I was like, I'm just going to think up 5 things that make me cheerful today, and I'll put them in a newsletter and see if it helps anyone else. And so I just kind of started, like a lot of things in my career, with not a huge amount of planning or planning, I guess. It just kind of happened. But I really love putting the newsletter together, and I think that's probably why I've stayed consistent with it every Monday, except for the past month. I've had a bit of time off over summer. Every Monday I get it out there by 6:30 a.m. because I enjoy doing it, and I think that probably is what keeps it going. But yeah, it really just evolved quite organically. And then I sort of did it quite simply. I just got a free MailChimp account and I started out, and I already had a few people on a mailing list, but not many, like probably, 50 or 60. And then I just sort of started pushing it and promoting it. And then I got a designer to do me a beautiful template. And so it looked I really wanted it to look kind of shiny and glossy, feel a little bit like a magazine. And then, yeah, it just kind of grew from there. But I'm really glad you like it, because it's a lot of time that I spend kind of worming around the internet to try and find these things. But I do enjoy doing it.
I know. Well, that was actually my next question, because I do a newsletter every Friday night, which is fairly new for Rachel's List. And that's
yes,
a big...
I get it, and I really like it.
Oh, you get it? Oh, great, yeah.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
It's so much work, isn't it, putting something that big together, like a big digest type thing. And I'd love to know, I mean, I collect stuff throughout the week and throughout the month and chuck it all into Evernote and then kind of compile in the 2 days before it goes out. But what's your process? How do you compile stuff? Where do you keep it? And how do you decide what to do? And do you have any kind of like organized Google Doc where you say, I've put that in newsletter 3 this month, so you don't do the same things over and over? No.
I wish I was, that's a good idea. I might start doing that.
I need to.
No,
as well.
what I do, similar to you, I just actually use the notes app on my phone. And I, like, if I'm listening to a podcast on a walk or something that I think people might like, I'll just share that link into, I've just got like a 5 things note in my phone that I kind of delete what I've used in the previous week and I add new stuff. So it sort of stays fairly current. So
the good thing about your phone is that you've always got it, isn't it? So you don't have to run
Yeah. And I also, you know, if I'm cooking, which I do, you know, probably half my job is sort of recipe testing and cooking, I'll often have an idea or I'll think of something I want to say and I'll just dictate on my notes app what I want to say because my computer is up in the office or wherever. So I find dictating stuff is really helpful because often I've got sticky fingers or whatever. So I do that a lot. What I try and do normally is collect stuff during the week. And then on a Friday, I'll try and start to sort of put the bones of the newsletter together. So I'll choose a recipe that I want to feature. The sort of general flow is I'll have something to cook, something to listen to, something to read, something to watch, and just a sort of miscellaneous thing that I feel like sharing. And it helps me to have that kind of rough format, I guess, because then I know what I've got to do. And I think people quite like it. And that's another thing. I got some feedback recently. I did a newsletter that was quite pared back with literally just 5 things because I was getting a bit, I was just sharing a lot. And she was like, it was too overwhelming. I couldn't cope with it all too much on a Monday morning. I really appreciated this week's newsletter, which was just a bit less kind of full, I guess. So that was quite interesting feedback. You don't want to overwhelm people with information. So, and then what I do is I start every newsletter with just a little blurb, like what we've been up to over the weekend or just anything particular I want to say. And I always write that on the Monday morning. So I have everything else ready to go, but I feel like it's nice because let's not forget they're called newsletters. Like I think that letter part of a newsletter often gets forgotten. It is a letter from one person to another. And I think it's nice to make it feel that way a little bit. So I add the photo and the letter bit at the beginning, the Monday morning just before I press send. So yeah, that's kind of the process, I guess. And it changes. Sometimes I'm super organized and sometimes it's Sunday night and I'm like, oh my God, I haven't started my newsletter. But most of the time I try and get most of it done by Friday. Yeah.
All right.
I find that little blurb, that newsy blurb at the start, the hardest thing to write.
Oh, it is. Yeah. I agree.
Pages.
And sometimes that's why I find it's better almost for me to leave it till right at the last minute because you've just got to get something down. And that sense of urgency for me at least somehow makes it happen. And I often also worry that people don't really care that much about what I did that weekend, like how boring. So you don't want to make it too much about you, but yeah. So it's a fine balance. I think you just got to go with your gut there and write what you feel is relevant and interesting. And at least if it's just like a quick sentence saying, hey guys, here's this week's newsletter. I really hope you enjoy it. I'm off now to, get the school lunches packed or whatever it might be. So it does feel like a newsletter between a person to a person. I think that's important.
I guess that's what makes it sort of more distinctively yours and different from every other newsletter because this is a letter from Sophie compared to a letter from Rachel or Lynn or whatever. That's in keeping that spontaneity and that personal tone is part of what is your unique selling point to get all marketing about it. But yeah.
And I, for one, really like seeing what you've done the previous weekend. I love reading it.
I think Rachel's turning into this sort of super creepy
I'm a super fan. I'll stop
but
now.
I'm the same. No, but I really like hearing what other people do. So I think it's just that idea of, I often, when I do my social media workshops and when I talk to people, I often do that whole with them, like what's in it for me, and I often sort of think about when I'm, creating my own content. And so I do think of that when I'm writing my newsletter. Like I don't want to rabbit on and about how, we had a picnic on Sunday and what we ate, because what's in it for the other person who's reading it. But maybe it's just some ideas that maybe they might have a picnic next weekend and some recipe ideas. So yeah, it's just a fine line, I think, getting that tone right.
I think what's interesting and different about your newsletter is that it's a lovely voice from rural Australia. And I think that I love that sort of warm and positive tone that you use. And I guess that's why the personal thing is so nice, because for those of us in a totally different environment, it's a window into a different world. And it's been pretty tough in rural Australia in the last few years. It would be hard not to get negative and to still stay positive. How do you manage that?
So it was a really conscious decision, and actually when I started the newsletter, we were in the middle of that drought that was just dragged on and on and on and really kind of difficult. And there was a lot of doom and gloom out there about regional Australia and, you know, front pages of the metropolitan papers with the skeletal cow in a dry dam and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, you know what, it is hard, but there's also lots of really good stuff. And this is what we signed up for. You know, we're farmers, droughts come. And so I did try and make it a place where people could sort of go and have a little bit of respite, I guess. Like, not that I'm sticking my head in the sand, and I'm fully aware of all the challenges that we're all facing, but I feel like on a Monday morning at 6:30, you can just open your phone or your computer and just find a new podcast to listen to, or just a few nice things that might just brighten our mornings, because we all need that. And there's enough stuff out there that's reporting the negatives in the world. So I feel like it's good to sort of offer another perspective without being ignorant. I mean, I do often think about that as well. Like, I hope people don't think I'm just ignoring all the terrible things that are happening in the world, but it's nice to shine some other light as well, I think.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think so many people enter Monday morning feeling, like you mentioned before, feeling glum, you know, feeling stressed about what they have to do. And just to read a few really nice things, or think, oh gosh, I can make that on the weekend, or maybe I'll try that satay recipe tonight, or I can listen to that podcast on my walk. You know, it can just give you that little bit of a lift. But I really want to talk to you, actually get into the nitty gritty of the whole community aspect and how it's grown, how the newsletter has grown, and how many subscribers you have, and how you promote it, if you do, or is it just kind of super fans like me going, oh my God, subscribe.
So how I promote it, I guess mostly it's through Instagram. I've been on the Instagram app for about 10 years as well now, and really have spent a lot of time kind of fostering or trying to build a community there. And I guess that has been a big part of it, a part of the newsletter's growth, because when I look at my stats of where signups come from on MailChimp, they're nearly all from my Instagram profile link, or when I do a swipe up to sign up kind of thing. So I do think, you know, you can't have one without the other almost. I think you've got to really work on you having a social media presence and, you know, a mailing list, because they're both important. But I do treasure my mailing list more than above anything, because as we all know, that's our bricks and mortar, right? We own that. We're renting our followers from Facebook, etc. So I think it's you know, you can't. For me, I've found they've really coexisted together quite well. I have a sign up form on my blog, but you know, I've been a little bit slack on the blogging front the last year or so that probably hasn't been as strong. Most of it's Instagram, and also just other people sharing it. You know, like I've got a button at the bottom saying, if you've enjoyed this, please send it to a friend. And that's word of mouth, as we know, is like the most powerful form of marketing. So that's been amazing. But yeah, it's like leaning in on your community. And you know, I spend my life, and my newsletter is all about sharing other people's stuff. And, you know, I might share a blogger's chocolate chip cookie recipe, and then she'll see that it's popped up in the newsletter and share it with her people. And then they might come over and check it out. So I feel like it's just all about those common connections and linking in and sharing each other's work. And for me, at least, that's definitely how it's sort of got a bit of momentum. In terms of my subscribers, I think it's about 3.1 or 3, just over 3,000 subscribers. So it's not huge, like definitely not big numbers, but it's taken me a long time to get to that. So I feel like, don't expect, you know, if you're starting out, you know, people often say, oh, I've only got 100 subscribers. I'm like, but imagine 100 people in a room all there to hear what you have to say. Like, that's a lot of people, you know. So it's hard to get people to give you their email address. We all know our inboxes are completely overflowing, and you will get unsubscribes and all the rest of it. But just, you know, every person that signs up to your newsletter, that's a win, you know, because that's someone who's opted in to hear from you every week. And I don't ever take that for granted. So, you know, mine has grown very slowly. I haven't done any kind of advertising. I haven't sort of done any major promotions or anything like that, but it's just sort of plodding along, and I get a few extra subscribers every week. And then I'm super grateful for all of them. So I just feel like slow and steady is for me at least, has been the name of the game with my newsletter.
Yep. So I think that's fascinating, but also I wonder, we'll talk about your day-to-day, like as well. But I guess I'm thinking about your cookbooks, which must be where actually you're actually earning an income plus the workshops you do. So having those dedicated subscribers, so if you have 3,000, they're not just like people who have heard of you, they're people that really listen to you every week. So I guess when you do your cookbooks, you've got an immediate audience of people who like what you do, that obviously like the food you're doing anyway. So does that help with the pre-sales of the cookbook?
Definitely.
Well,
Definitely. Yep, definitely. And, when I've got a new workshop that I'm advertising or anything like a book I'm selling or anything like that, if I put on my newsletter, I definitely notice there's action happens, much faster than when you do something on your Instagram. A call to action on Instagram and a call to action on your newsletter, I think, are two quite different things in terms of the movement that you see. So definitely, on Monday, this coming Monday, I'm going to put out a pre-order link for my new cookbook, and I'm fingers crossed that people will act on it. But I think, over the last few years, I've been sharing updates of the book as it progresses and the cover and things like that. And so I think, the people that are kind of invested in the whole story, I hope, are feeling like they're kind of part of it, like they've been reading about it and, oh yeah, finally it's here, that kind of thing. So it's, I think newsletters are really powerful tools to kind of create that strong sense of connection. And when I have something to sell, like news workshops, anything like that, they definitely do sell out through the newsletter above all anything else. Yeah.
So, because that's an important thing, that the newsletter doesn't actually make you money, but the other things do. And it's basically a marketing tool to direct people to the things that give you a career and everything. Because otherwise, I mean, that's the good thing about a newsletter for your subscribers. They get something from you for free every week. But it's really about channeling them into, it's a brand awareness thing, isn't it? Yeah. So what's your day-to-day life? I mean, how much do you spend on things like the newsletter? Obviously, you're working on the cookbook, or are you spending time on the farm herding deer?
Well, I help out. Definitely, like Tim runs the farm business, and I help out as much as I'm needed. But I do work sort of pretty much full-time on my own gig. So the newsletter probably takes 2 hours a week, I'd say, to put together. But I don't begrudge that. It's 2 hours a week for a really powerful marketing tool that also I enjoy, that also kind of helps me kind of keep this community fairly tight knit. I always get the loveliest responses back from every Monday newsletter. People write back with lovely things to say, and and then I write back, and so it's definitely, I feel like it's definitely time well spent. I do work for various clients, so food businesses might write to me and they might want me to develop some recipes for their products, and I do that. So I do content creation for people. But at the moment, I've just signed my on the dotted line to do a 4th cookbook, which deadline for that one is the 1st of April this year, and the pub date for the next book is the 2nd of April. So it's like clear the decks. That's what I'm doing for the next few months.
Yes.
But as you guys would know, when you're freelance, to know what you're doing for the next few months and have that kind of invoice in, and it's pretty fantastic. So I'm not complaining. I'm really excited about it, but it's just, that's my day to day till April really, is just book stuff, which is amazing. I'm really excited about it. Yeah. So there's lots on, but that's my sort of, it's different all the time. I do help a bit on the farm. I only generally work school hours, but I get up early and try and get at least an hour in before the school day. So, time is the biggest challenge. I think we'd all agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, coming from as well, you've had 20 years or more as a journo, a features writer and a content creator, and you've obviously worked in Sydney in the magazine world. So then going to a rural, part of the world, were you ever concerned that it would be tricky for you to keep clients, find clients, pick up work and create a freelance business from that kind of location?
Well, yeah, but I mean, at the beginning, it didn't even really occur to me to go freelance. I left at the time. I was working as an editor for R.M. Williams Publishing. Do you remember their Hoofs and Horns magazine, which was great? And I also worked at Outback, which is how I met my husband, actually. And, when we became engaged and I decided I was going to move to the country, I just quit my job. It just didn't even occur to me that I could work remotely or stay on as a freelancer, or, it's a very different time. I think these days it wouldn't be a question. You just keep working wherever you are, which is so fantastic. But I just kind of knew that I needed a full-time income, and the whole idea of freelance just seemed a bit scary to me. So I got a job marketing for a winery here in Orange, which actually was fantastic because it was a great way to meet a lot of people and sort of tap into the whole incredible food and wine network that we have here. So I did that for a few years, and we were doing the farmers markets every weekend as well with our venison. And really it started there because I would do a newsletter every week with recipes to give out to our customers at the markets, and I'd talk to other stall holders and I'd share their recipes as well. And I had a conversation with Victoria Carey, who you know, Lynn, who at the time, I think she was at Country Style then, and she was like, you know, you stopped pitching, you're not writing, you should just start a blog, you know, just to keep exercising that muscle. And I was like, oh, yeah, I didn't even know what blogs were. So I went and like Googled them and discovered this whole world of amazing content and all these cool people out there like just publishing stuff. And I was like, that's what I'm going to do. And so I kind of took the newsletter I was doing for our farmers markets, and I kind of put that onto a blog and shared our venison recipes and all our stallholder friends. And sort of, you know, I used to see every Saturday morning, like people would be writing their apple cake recipe on bits of brown paper and giving them out to their customers. And I was like, I just want to put all this incredible knowledge in the one place. So yeah, so that's how kind of Local is Lovely started. And then it kind of evolved into this whole other career that I never would have imagined actually. So yeah.
It's incredible.
It was, as I said, it was organic, very organic.
Yeah. Because it can be quite isolating in rural Australia. I mean, particularly when you're on a farm, less so in the towns. Do you catch up with people? I mean, this year it's probably, I don't know if it's changed a lot in rural Australia as much as it has in the city. Is most of your networking virtual or?
People say that, and actually I almost found the opposite. Like, you know, in the country it's incredible. Like people are always dropping over, there's always a community thing to go to, there's a school thing, you've got the neighbours catch up, there's, I don't know, I feel like here, because we're all a bit sort of separated from each other, everyone makes so much more of an effort to catch up. But having said that, we're only half an hour out of town and we've got neighbours sort of quite close to us, so we're not, you know, I've got a lot of friends who are working in this field and they're like Broken Hill and on big properties and really isolated. So that's definitely not my experience. Orange is a big town. I go into town nearly every day for kids stuff. So I don't feel disconnected. And, you know, during lockdown with homeschooling and everything on that front, in terms of just being at home with the family, I kind of loved that, you know, just because we had this playground, you know, we're so incredibly lucky. The kids could ride their bikes around and participate in the farm a bit more. And so, yeah, I'm a bit of a convert to the country way of life, actually. It definitely doesn't feel isolated to me.
Yeah. How lovely. Oh, gosh, we could talk to you all day, mainly about food on my part. We haven't even touched on that, but I know that you're going, so we have to wrap up. But I just wanted to just ask you, because we're in such a big, I don't know if you feel this as well, but I feel like there's such a big newsletter trend at the moment, you know, with Substack and all these journos who are starting their own sort of mini publishing empires. And I guess you've been doing it for 2 years, your newsletter.
Just about that, yeah.
Yeah. So what would be your advice to people starting out with their own newsletter? I mean, any tips?
The first thing would be just do it. Like, honestly, you won't regret it. The second thing would be find, you know, as Lynn was saying before, find your unique voice, like find something that only you can offer and just like amplify that. Because as you said, there are so many newsletters out there, but the common thread in all of the ones that I actually read every single week is that each one is really different. Like each one has a particular voice and a particular perspective, and that's what I'm there for, you know, because I subscribe to all the big kind of publishing company newsletters where they do all the roundups, and that's great, but I want to actually feel like I'm connecting with someone. So yeah, I think just really find something that you've got to love it, because otherwise it will feel like a job and a chore and you'll just sort of start to resent it, I think. Yeah, just don't fret about the numbers. Like, do your very best in every single newsletter, because it will grow. And even if only 10 people are reading at the beginning, it's just such a good practice. Like, it's just a good writing practice, if nothing else. Yeah. So I think just do it. Like, just start, send it out to all your friends and family, ask them to forward it to their friends and family. And it will just, if it's good, it will grow. And I'm sure it will be.
Amazing.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
We'll definitely include all the links to your websites and to how to subscribe to the newsletter in the show notes.
Yeah. And we'll also,
thanks, guys.
We're going to get on your list for your next book, because I love your books. They're beautiful. And they have that same wonderful, warm and welcoming tone. I mean, the idea of the basket by the door is just lovely. I can see why it's in its 4:3 print, just about sharing food and family. There's a nice connection, which I guess is you anyway, and that's echoed in the newsletter and in your blogs and everything. And that's a lovely thing to be part of. So thank you.
Well, thank you. It's well, I hope you like the next one. It's in good company, and it's out on the 2nd of April. And I'm really excited about it. Actually, it's lots of beautiful people feature in it, and hopefully it will get everyone entertaining more and having more fun with their friends around the table.
Yeah,
great.
Thank you.
Can't wait. Thanks again, Sophie.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.